Hi there, Sarah and Kelly. How are my favorite little girls today? Well, I'm going to read you a story about Woody Woodpecker. He shoots the works. Rap-a-tap-tap. Woody Woodpecker uses sharp bill to rap on Wally Walrus's front door. He jumped up and down to keep warm. It was the coldest, blowiest, shiveriest night that Woody could ever remember. Hi, Wally. I just dropped in on my way to work. Woody hopped through the door and hurried over to the fireplace, with Wally close behind him. What work? Wally demanded. I didn't know you had a job. Woody grinned. I'm the new night watchman at Mr. Pop-Up's factory. This is my first night at it, and I'm going to go to work. He stopped because Wally wasn't listening to him. The big fellow's whiskers were trembling. Two fat tears rolled down his cheeks. What's the trouble, Wally? Woody asked. He often teased his friend, and he didn't want Wally to be sad. Nothing, Wally replied. Yes, there is, insisted Woody. Cheer up, Wally boy. Laugh. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. That's how the Woody Woodpecker laughs, you know. If you don't know what's wrong, said Wally rather grumpily, I'm not going to tell you. And two more tears chased the first ones down his chin. Just then the cuckoo clock sang, cuckoo, 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 9 times. Whoops, Woody exclaimed. I have to get to work. Why don't you come over later on and keep me company? Wally shook his head sadly. If you come, Woody went on, I'll have a surprise for you. Wally looked like a little bit more cheerful. I'll see, he promised. As he hurried through the cold, Woody tried to plan a big surprise for Wally. Whatever could it be? The wind seemed to roar, think hard, hurry up. And the branches of the maple trees made black question marks against the moon. Whoo! He exclaimed, when at last he was safe and snug inside the watchman's little cottage at the factory gate. It's a bad night for woodpeckers. Then he sat down to think some more about the surprise. It would have to be something good because Wally was certainly unhappy. Woody wondered what could be wrong. I know what I'll do, he said suddenly, and he ran over to the cupboard where food was kept for midnight snacks. Right in front was a big bag marked popcorn. You know what popcorn is, don't you? Because you've had it lots of times, I bet. Now he chuckled to himself. I'll build a fire in the fireplace, and when Wally comes, we'll pop enough popcorn to last all night. Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! What a surprise! Wally likes popcorn better than anything else in the whole wide world. It just took a few minutes to build a roaring fire. Then Woody put the corn in the popper close to the fireplace and went outside to see if Wally was coming. Next to the cottage, boxes from the factory were stacked. I'll just put my lantern way on top so that Wally can find his way, Woody told himself. Quickly, he scrambled up to the top of the pile and down again. A moment later, Wally came huffing and puffing into the yard. "What's going on, Woody?" he asked gloomily. "Where's the big surprise you promised me?" "You'll see," Woody grinned. "Come on." But Wally held him back. "You'd better take that lantern away from those boxes of fireworks first. There's quite a wind and—" "Fireworks!" Woody jumped. "Is that what Mr. Pop-Up makes in his factory? Fireworks? Grab that lantern, quick!" But it was too late. Just as he spoke, the wind blew the lantern over on its side with a clang. And boom! A rocket shot out of the top of the pile, then another one, and still a third. Swish! Roman candles flared in yellow, and green, and red, and blue, like glowing flowers. Pinwheels chased each other around the yard, and sparklers glittered in the air. Bang! 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 Whole strings of firecrackers, big ones and little ones, went off everywhere. It looked and sounded like 54th of Julys, all at once. Woody and Wally ducked behind a woodpile and waited. It was 15 minutes before they dared to come out. Whoo! Woody ducked as a last rocket shot passed his head. What a show! I wonder what Mr. Pop-Up's going to say in the morning. Thanks, Woody, old pal. Wally crawled out from behind the woodpile. He had a sparkler in one hand and a Roman candle in the other. And there was a great big smile on his face. This was the best birthday surprise I ever had. Birthday? Surprise? Woody wondered if he was hearing right. Sure, Wally went on. I thought nobody was going to remember my birthday, but you did. This is the biggest celebration I ever had in my life. Together the two friends went into the cottage. The floor was covered with fluffy white popcorn. The whole bagful had popped while they were outside. And popcorn, too! Wally sat on the floor and began to eat. Say, Woody, you're wonderful. Woody thought about all the fireworks he would surely have to pay for tomorrow. He thought of all the popcorn that he would have to sweep up. But then he looked at Wally Walrus's smiling face. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, he laughed. Happy birthday, Wally. Pass the salt, please. So that's the story about Woody Woodpecker and Shoots the Works. Boy, he was sure a good friend to give Wally such a great big surprise. But what a mess he had to clean it all up himself later on. But that goes to show you, when there's fireworks around, you must never, never mess around with it unless Mommy and Daddy are there to tell you what to do and not to do, and let them light the fire on the fireworks, because you could get hurt. They were just real lucky they didn't get hurt. Wasn't that a good story? Now Grandma's got to see what else I got here to read to you. Well, let's see. Here's Roy Rogers' Bullet Leads the Way. You know, Bullet was a dog that belonged to Roy Rogers. He had a horse that was named Traeger, and Bullet was the dog name. So I'm going to read you a story about Roy Rogers' Bullet. Can you tell me where Mr. Henderson lives? Jane and Ricky Erickson looked up in surprise at the tall cowboy coming up the walk. Oh, it's about 4 miles down the way, said Ricky. But Mr. and Mrs. Henderson have gone to the city today. The stranger's pleasant face clouded. That's too bad. I've come to visit them for a few days. but they weren't expecting me until tomorrow. The children's father came around the house. "You must be Roy Rogers," he said. "Jack Henderson told me he expected you." Jane and Ricky stared excitedly. This was the famous cowboy. They had heard he was going to buy the Henderson ranch. "Where's Trigger?" Ricky asked. "Tied to the front gate," Roy Rogers answered, smiling. "See, Trigger was his horse." "The Hendersons will be home this evening," said Mr. Erickson. "Why don't you have dinner with us and go over there later?" "Thank you," answered Roy. "I'd like that very much." The four of them walked toward the front gate. There they saw Roy's beautiful Palomino horse, Trigger. Lying on the ground beside the horse was a big dog. "That," Roy told them. "He stepped on a piece of glass down the road and cut his foot." "Aw, poor Bullet," cried Jane. "We'll take care of your foot." While Ricky and his father fed Trigger the horse, Jane and Roy washed the injured paw and bandaged it. Afterward, the dog on 3 legs followed the children wherever they went around the ranch. See, he had one ouchie, and so he couldn't step on it. He had to walk on 3 legs instead of 4. "He sure has taken a shine to you," Roy laughed. What he meant was, he sure likes you kids. "Why don't you leave him here until his foot gets better, Roy?" Mr. Erickson suggested. "Would you like that?" Roy asked the children. "Oh, yes, Mr. Rogers," cried Jane and Ricky. So when Roy rode away, he left the dog behind. The children took good care of Bullet, and slowly his foot grew better. "He hardly limps even a little bit now," said Jane happily. One morning, Mr. Erickson asked Jane and Ricky, "Will you be all right here if your mother and I go to the city today?" "Oh, yes," Ricky laughed. "We look after Bullet, and he can look after us." The 2 children watched their parents drive away. Then they looked about for something to do. "It would be fun to play hayloft," suggested Ricky. "That's a place where they keep the hay in the big barns." And they thought that would be fun. Bullet followed the children up the ladder, and they had a good time playing hide and seek in the hay with him. The only trouble was that Bullet could always smell out their hiding places. They just couldn't get away from him. He just knew where to find them. Then Jane spied an old wooden trunk. "I'll hide in that," she thought. No sooner said than done. Into the trunk she went and closed the lid with a snap. Curled up inside, she listened for Ricky and Bullet. At last, she grew tired of waiting. "Oh, it's hot in here," she thought. "I'd better get out." Jane pushed at the lid, but it would not rise. She struggled and struggled, but the trunk was locked. She began to shout. In a minute, she heard Bullet barking outside the trunk. The big dog had found her. Soon Ricky heard the barking and came. He saw what had happened and tugged at the lid. It was locked fast. "If I don't get some air soon, I'll smother," cried Jane. "Please help me, Ricky." Ricky hurried off. Soon he returned with a heavy hammer. "Where's your head?" he called. Jane tapped at one of the trunk. "Quickly." Ricky broke a small hole in the other end to let air in for her so that she could breathe. Then he pushed the trunk near the big window where a fresh breeze was blowing in. "Does that help?" he asked Jane. "Yes," she answered, "but I hope someone comes soon." Only then did Ricky notice that Bullet was gone. He looked out the window and saw him running toward the Henderson ranch. "Bullet must be going for help," he cried. He's running down the road like a streak." Time dragged as the two children waited for someone to come. Every few minutes Ricky looked down the road. "Jane may have to stay in the trunk until Mother and Dad get home tonight," he thought. Boy, that wouldn't be so good, being inside of a trunk all that time. Suddenly Ricky felt a shiver of excitement. A cloud of dust had appeared way down the road. "Someone is coming," he said. He scrambled down the ladder and ran toward the gate. There were Roy Rogers and Trigger coming as fast as the big horse could run, with Bullet not far behind. "Is something wrong?" asked Roy as he leaped off the horse beside Ricky. Ricky led him quickly to the loft. Soon Roy broke the trunk open, and he carried Jane down the ladder and laid her on the warm grass. Soon the little girl was sitting up with her arm around Bullet, who lay panting on the grass. "How did Bullet make you understand?" she asked Roy. "He came tearing into the yard where I was talking to Mr. Henderson," answered Roy, "and tried to pull me toward the barn where Trigger was tied. When I didn't go, he got Trigger's bridle and brought it to me. I realized then there was something very, very wrong, and I came as fast as I could." "I'm sure glad you did," said Jane very gratefully. "You and Bullet saved my life." "It was really Ricky who saved you," answered Roy. "If he hadn't broken that hole in the trunk, you would have smothered, because you couldn't have breathed." "Ricky, you're a smart boy. I'm glad. You're going to be my neighbor." "Have you really bought the Henderson place?" Ricky and Jane cried. And when Roy nodded, Jane said happily, "Oh, how wonderful. Now we can see you and Bullet and Trigger every day." Now, wasn't that a nice story? And that teaches us another lesson, that we should never crawl inside of anything like a trunk or a box or something that where the door could slam and get locked and we would be stuck in it, and if nobody was around to hear us or be around like Bullet was around, so nobody could hear us, why, we could smother, and that would be real bad. So we must never, never, never go in anything that has a door on it that might slam and there's nobody there to help us. So you be sure that you don't do that, okay? That's nice. Now, Grandma's got to look for another book here and see, oh, how would you like to hear about Bugs Bunny? It's Bugs Bunny's birthday surprise. Oh boy, another birthday surprise, just like Wally's was when Woody Woodpecker made him a surprise party, huh? With all the firecrackers and the popcorn and everything. Bugs Bunny's birthday surprise is the name of the story. Whoops! Bugs Bunny jumped out of bed. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I haven't reminded anybody. He dashed out the front door and down the road to the trim white house of Elmer Fudd. You ever heard of Elmer Fudd? He's a bald-headed little guy that always goes around with a gun in his hand, trying to shoot wabbits. "Morning, Bugs," Elmer called. "Come in and make yourself comfy. I'm going out to the garden to get some parsley for my carrot stew." He can't say carrot, he says carrot. "For my carrot stew." Bugs sat down to wait. On the table was a big pile of carrots, and on the sink was another pile. More carrots bobbed in a pot on the stove. Yum! Bugs licked his lips. Guess Elmer won't mind if I eat just one little old carrot. You know, rabbits really love carrots better than anything in the whole wide world. And they're good for little girls, too. I hope you like carrots. Grandma and Grandpa sure do. We eat carrots, and if little girls eat them, they get to grow up to be beautiful little ladies someday. Yeah, they're good for your eyes, so you have bright, shiny, twinkling eyes. Anyhow, here goes the story. He took some of the carrots off of the sink, and he ate one, just one, and then one more, and then one more, and then Elmer Fudd came back to find not one carrot left in his kitchen. Bugs Bunny was gone too, but on the table was a note. It said, "Thanks for the carrots. Don't forget my birthday tomorrow. Love, Bugs." "Oh, that wascally wabbit!" Elmer roared. "Birthday, huh? We'll just see about that." Meanwhile, Bugs was hurrying down Hazelnut Drive to the pretty little house of Petunia, the pig. Oh, what a name for a pig, Petunia. "Hi, Bugs," Petunia called. "Will you stir this carrot soup while I run out to the garden for some little green onions?" "Glad to," said Bugs. He looked at the huge pile of carrots on the table. There was another big pile on the sink, and more carrots bobbed in the soup. Yum, he thought. Guess Petunia won't mind if I eat just one little old carrot. And so he ate just one more, and then one more, and then one more, and then Petunia came back to find not one carrot left in her kitchen. Wow, what a little pig that Bunny was. Bugs Bunny was gone too, but on the table was a note. It said, "Thanks for the carrots. Don't forget my birthday tomorrow. Love, Bugs." "Oh, that terrible rabbit!" exclaimed Petunia. "His birthday indeed. Well, I'll fix him." Meanwhile, Bugs had skipped down Dewberry Pike to Porky Pig's house. "Come on out in the garden, Bugs," called Porky. "You can help me pick vegetables for a salad." See, Porky, he stuttered. But no sooner had Bugs reached the garden than the telephone rang and Porky hurried into the house. Bugs looked at the rows and rows of carrots all around him. "Yum," he said. "Guess Porky won't mind if I eat just one little old carrot." And so he ate one, just one, and then one more, and then one more, and then Porky Pig came back to his garden to find not one carrot left in it. Bugs Bunny was gone too, but the Scarecrow was holding a note. Porky had a scarecrow in his garden. It said, "Thanks for the carrots. Don't forget my birthday tomorrow. Love, Bugs." "Oh, that dreadful rabbit," shouted Porky. "His birthday, is it? I'll teach him a thing or two." Early the next morning, Bugs went out to the front gate to wait for the guests he was sure would come. He waited all morning long. No one came. He waited all afternoon. No one came. Bugs was the saddest bunny in the whole world. He was feeling so sorry for himself that he didn't see three figures tiptoe across the yard and duck into the entrance to his home. He didn't know they were there until, tired and unhappy, he went inside. Happy birthday, Bugs! Elmer, Petunia, and Porky jumped out with packages in their arms. We didn't forget, Bugs, said Elmer, but we are pretty mad at you. You ate every one of our carrots, you know. I'm sorry, Bugs said. I'll never do it again. Honest. You certainly won't, replied Petunia. We're tired of planting carrots and never eating any, so we aren't going to raise them any more. Somebody else is going to do it. Who? Asked Bugs. His friends pointed at the pretty birthday packages. Bugs unwrapped them. The first one was a rake. The second one was a watering can. The third one held a big straw garden hat. And the fourth one, just a tiny box, held 4 packages of carrot seed, carrot seed, carrot seed, and carrot seed. Bugs gulped. Me? Work? In a garden? Right, Porky declared. And once a week we'll be over for carrot soup, or carrot stew, or carrot salad. Then all 3 friends grabbed Bugs and pulled him into the kitchen for a real celebration. They had games and singing and ice cream and a great big cake with carrot candles on top of it. Wasn't that nice? Boy, after Bugs went and ate up all their carrots, they did all that nice stuff for him. But he got all those things, and now he was going to have to raise the carrots for all of them. See? So anyhow, happy birthday to Bugs Bunny and his carrots, right? Okay. Guess this tape is almost over with, and Grandma's going to have to find something else to read to you from some of the books I have here. And I'll have to turn the tape over. And I hope you enjoy these stories. Grandma really enjoys reading them. I wish I was right there with you to read them to you in person instead of here by myself reading to you. So, happy listening, okay? In a little bit I'll read you some more.